Hello and welcome to a very special ShareLife speaker series. Tonight's event is Your Impact, a ShareLife Townhall. It's an opportunity for us to both look back on everything that you have accomplished as a ShareLife supporter this year and look ahead to the emerging challenges in our community, how Catholic agencies will be tackling them through your support. In many ways, tonight's event is a companion piece to the ShareLife Impact Report, which is our annual report to donors. You'll be finding that in your mailbox or inbox in the coming days. Before we introduce our three special guests, I'd like to open with a prayer. So please join me. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. One point of housekeeping. When we say tonight is a town hall, that means we want to hear from you, our audience. If you're joining us live on Zoom, please send us your questions using the Q&A feature on your Zoom toolbar. You can submit your questions anytime, but we'll be answering these questions live in the latter half of our event, and we'll get to as many as we can. Now to our guests. Joining us tonight is Dr. Agnes Thomas. Agnes is approaching a year in her role as Executive Director of Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of Toronto. She earned her PhD at the University of Toronto's Ontario Institute for Studies in Education, and she came to Catholic Charities with a wealth of experience in the faith-based nonprofit sector, having begun her career at L'Arche International. When she moved to Toronto, she began working at Yonge Street Mission before serving as Executive Director of Catholic Cross-Cultural Services, a Catholic Charities member agency. As such, she came to her new role deeply familiar with the work of Catholic Charities in our Archdiocese. Welcome, Agnes. Also with us is Sharon Mayne Devine. Sharon is the Chief Executive Officer of Catholic Family Services of Peel-Dufferin. CFS Peel-Dufferin is the lead agency for both the Safe Center of Peel and the Honorable William G. Davis Center for Families, a multi-service center located in Peel. Prior to her current role, Sharon taught at the University of Guelph in the Department of Family Relations and Applied Nutrition. She is passionate about developing innovative approaches to addressing violence and trauma in families and finding transformative solutions to address challenging social issues. Very happy to have you here, Sharon.
Wonderful to be here.
And lastly, we're joined by a familiar face to our longtime supporters. Arthur Peters is the Executive Director of ShareLife and the Director of the Development Office of the Archdiocese of Toronto, a role he's held since 2005. He also serves as the Deputy Supreme Knight of the Knights of Columbus, which is a leading role in the 1.9 million member international fraternal organization. Arthur is also an active parishioner at St. Anthony's Parish in Brampton. Pleased to have you here, Arthur.
Thank you for having me.
I'd like to start with some questions for you, Agnes. Having started your role as executive director at Catholic Charities last year, you bring a fresh perspective to the organization. So tell us, what's new at Catholic Charities?
Oh, plenty. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for having me. And thanks for the audience that being here today. It is what a marvelous journey. Maybe as you said at the introduction, coming from a Catholic Charities member agency probably helped coming over. And I would say the key word for me had been is that like the possibilities and a joyful hope as we are preparing, like we are in Lent, and as we are entering into, like the Easter season, the word that comes to me about the work at what we are doing at Catholic Charities is joyful hope. So some of the things, if you wanted me to get into the specifics of it, there are plenty that is happening. As you know, like anytime when you're starting a new place, even if it starts with listening. So we are in a place of almost like a road trip. So meeting people, going to organizations. We are also at the beginning of a parish community assessment process where some of you will be part of. And because we wanted to hear and see what are some of the emerging trends beyond what we are hearing from our member agencies and communities, and also to see what are some of the assets that's in the community, maybe that is not connected. So a second piece we are working on is looking at some of our current processes. As you all know, COVID changed so much of how things were. And so it is high time for us to look at how are we responding to the emerging or new challenges as a result of things that changed in the last few years for the communities as well as for the organization. And a third piece we are working on, as you could see, that there is these are the new communications. So how do we talk about and share our impact? One, and I also talk about some of the best practices or concerns communities and agencies would have. So those are the kind of work that we are currently doing. But I think the key piece is we are in a space of listening. And just so that we may touch on it later, we do have a new scholarship program, like 6 new ones added, and that is on now. So anybody in the audience who is going back to school or thinking about going into a master's program in community development, social work, etc., that's open now.
And how can individuals find out more about that, Agnes?
So if you go to www.ccat.ca under scholarships and awards, you would see all of the details, and it is all on our social media as well.
Now, Catholic Charities really has its finger on the pulse of society in so many ways. You're in daily contact with agencies located throughout the Archdiocese of Toronto, which is very geographically broad, and serving in such a wide variety of needs. What are some of the emerging challenges or issues that we're seeing, Agnes?
Mm-hmm. I mean, as top of mind. So I would probably divide that into two separate categories. I would imagine Sharon will be talking a little about that later. So from a community perspective, what we are seeing is that increasing poverty and income disparity that is all over. And many of the ShareLife donors stepped up and supported us with the food security initiatives. But food security as an issue that is systematic connected to poverty is something that is a key issue in the GTA. And I would say yesterday I was at a conversation where it is a national-wide problem now. And housing, it's everywhere. And the refugee crisis that we are seeing, like the space in the shelter system, etc., and precarious employment, underemployment, and mental health issues. And so I think it is all connected to going back to the root problem. When somebody feels social isolation and negative impact of living in poverty for so long, that also increases, and also the experience of displacement, people feeling within the city as well as from elsewhere, all of that creating more compounding complex issues. And so that is from the community side, I see. And agencies, on the other hand, that what I'm hearing is the increasing complexity of needs beyond sometimes the agency's capacity and mission. Like you may be providing services for women experiencing violence, but then you may be asked to provide housing and everything else related to. And so sometimes that becomes a stretch for organizations. And HR crisis, as you know, in the social service sector, low pay and high staff turnover and volunteer or staff retention, all that is also a huge issue now. And declining revenue sources and increasing funding need. That's something we are hearing and seeing all the time, because I don't think any of the agencies turn people away. When somebody comes to your door, somehow people step up to see if there is anything they can do, how they can connect. That always looking into, you need to have bodies, you need to have people, you need to have things to give. And so that is another. And I think digital transformation or like digital need also became a need that was not there maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And those all cost money. And so somebody who used to come, and I think Sharon may mention about this, something that I have seen in my own previous work. If a family need a support for an hour or two, now that increased to 10 hours. So someone who is coming for maybe 2 or 3 times of counseling, that may increase to 8 to 10. So that is the type of need we see from the agency side and how much they need support in that.
Now, you talk about the relationship between the various different social issues and how one can feed into another, and how agencies can be stretched by their own capacity. Is that one of the benefits of the Catholic Charities system? Is that you are able to provide a bridge between different agencies serving different needs?
Yes, I do think that is probably one of our strength, that shared, like the Catholic Family Services Organization. They all meet, they talk about what are some of the emerging trends in one side of the city to the other. And if there are ways they can collaborate on like their marketing project. Currently, they're talking about how they can do marketing together or do communication together. So there are ways people are looking to, and we also come together once or every 2 months to discuss things, or people, if somebody is working on an innovative project, they talk about that at the meeting. And so there are ways that the groups coming together is, I am seeing so much value in it. And as we are speaking, we are also looking for ways that how else we can support, because the needs are so high. How do we build capacity, whether it is leadership or advocacy? So those are the kind of things we are looking into as we speak.
I think that's beautiful that our supporters are not just supporting one particular cause, but they're supporting a whole
Right.
network,
Mhm.
a social safety net that is able to catch people where they're at and direct them to their specific needs, and that's also able to have a very broad view of what is happening in our society. Agnes, we've talked about some of the challenges. Where do you see signs of hope?
All places. So I am an eternal optimist. Part of the reason being, I see sometimes we may think, random people sometimes say, what can I do? I don't have money, I don't have special skills. Sometimes it's a random act of kindness in the way of smiling or saying hello to somebody, or taking 2 minutes to speak to someone you never spoke to. And so there are ways that I see, and I see this all the time. So when I look at the work, I believe our work is being the face of the merciful face of God, or the other words to say that we are actually partnering with God in doing this work. And so on the other hand, on the same coin, what I'm seeing is that the communities and people who are responding also acting in collaboration and act as Christ. And so I think that is such a joyful, I used the word joyful earlier, that creates hope. I stopped watching news during COVID. Part of the reason, whenever we think about, or whenever we look at the newspaper, all we see is that what is not working. We don't talk often about what is working. But in our work, in our daily conversation, we talk about people who were generous. 2 examples I could use. One from my previous work during COVID. One day, one person walked into one of our sites and gave the receptionist $50 and said, "This is all I have, but I want you guys to have it because you need it." So, and that too, now at Catholic Charities, like recently, we got a check from one of the estates. Somebody named us in their estate. And so, act of kindness, whether it is $1 somebody is putting towards our cause, or $100,000 somebody is putting towards something. And so, and other times, a friend calling up and saying, "Hey, I have a day that I can actually allocate bringing highly skilled people from my team." So it's not like just money. I see generosity of hearts and the grace people bring to one another every day.
I like how you explain that, because I think that people could maybe have the misconception that the work that the agencies do could very well be done by any other organization, and the fact that you are called Catholic Charities is maybe simply because you are being funded largely by the Catholic community. but can you expand on that? What does, being a faith-based institution, yourself being a person of faith, how does that lens really contribute to the kind of care that Catholic Charities agencies can provide,
Mhm.
and how you approach these issues and how you approach people in need?
So, in our line of work, more than anything else, I believe faith matters, because you can really become cynical in that. I think that is where that joyful hope conversation comes in, right? And so, for me, I think with Catholic Charities, a fundamental piece, I think that is universal in nature, is the social Catholic teaching. The principles of the social teachings of the church really apply. If I think about one of the first point in that is the dignity of the human person. And I think through our work and with our collaborations and partnership with people, that we bring that to the center. Front and center of our work is the social teachings, where we talk about rights of people. We talk about justice in general. And that is universal in nature, but so biblical. For me, I think that wrap everything in a way that there is a framework in which you can draw from how you would be. Even there are times you may be all in the same level in terms of your understanding or perspective, but having that framework allow you to enter into a conversation with respect, with the idea that you are there to listen. And so I think that changes the way that we interact with one another, the way we serve, because you are not, for me personally, I think that is connected to faith. Like the way Jesus would say, you treat your neighbor as yourself, and which meaning that you are not any bigger than anybody or you're not smaller than anybody. So we are equally loved. And a term that I use with my children and friends is that we are the beloved. So if we are called to be the beloved, then we behave like the beloved. So I think in this work, we get to manifest what it means to be the beloved.
I think there's a lot that we can expand on in our later discussion about what it really means for us to be working in Catholic institutions. I want to turn to you now, Arthur. Arthur, for those of us who are on the ShareLife email list or who read the coverage in the Catholic Register, you'll have seen the good news. You, our supporters listening today, helped us raise $14.2 million this year in the parish campaign. Now, that's a big but maybe slightly abstract number. Arthur, what does that mean in terms of how well our parishes did and what our parishioners accomplished?
Well, Chris, I'd like to extend our thanks to the greater Catholic community also for this very successful campaign. In a very challenging and tough economic time with many people facing financial challenges, managing their mortgages, managing their homes, being able to purchase food, the Catholic community in our parishes came through and raised a record amount to assist the agencies to do the work that Agnes was speaking about. To bring it down to the parish level, this year we had 110 parishes exceed their suggested parish goal. So at the beginning of each campaign, we give each parish a suggested goal for them to achieve. And then we ask them to do their best to achieve that. Some bringing in speakers, some showing the video, some doing both, and some having the messaging from the pulpit and the committee effort as well. So this year, 110 parishes managed to exceed the goal we suggested for them. And I often say to pastors, think of that goal as a piece of a pie, and we're baking a pie for the archdiocese to fund the ShareLife agency. So this is your piece of that pie. And we ask them to do their best to achieve that. In addition, another 24 parishes did not reach their goal, but exceeded the campaign total that they had in 2022. So again, a very successful achievement when you think that over half of the parishes in the archdiocese exceeded what they raised in 2022, again, in a very challenging time. For our parishioners, this meant that they came forward, they heard the messages of the ShareLife campaign, they understood the needs that were being presented in front of them from our agencies, hearing it in the media as well, and they responded generously. We were very fortunate again last year to have a donor contribute a matching gift towards the end of the campaign, and that did make an impact. parishioners were actually calling us in the fall and asking if there would be a matching gift because they wanted to make a contribution and wanted to know if their gift was going to be matched. In fact, during the last couple of months, we had two very extraordinary six-figure gifts that came into the campaign because people were aware of the matching gift. And at the same time, the opportunity presented themselves to these individuals to make a significant contribution to the campaign, and they wanted to do so. So overall, our parishes, our parishioners, our school communities, I should point out as well, this year, 4 of our 5 English Catholic district school boards achieved 100% of schools participation. That's the first time we've had that. So again, a very successful campaign on the schools end, which supports the parish campaign. So overall, with all of these things coming together, we had a very significant achievement and a very successful campaign on behalf of the agencies and the programs that they carry out in our society to help those in need.
Now, Arthur, it's been a scary few years in the nonprofit sector, going back to the pandemic, where, a lot of us were wondering, what was still going to exist after the pandemic. Are people going to be able to continue to give? What's society going to look like? And then moving into our current period, where, as you mentioned, people struggling with mortgage payments and food security, and yet through all this, ShareLife supporters have been steadfast. What do you think is unique about ShareLife supporters, perhaps in terms of their values, their motivation, their relationship to the work of our agencies, that has meant that they have been so faithful in these difficult times?
I think, Chris, if you look at the parishioners, the parishes, and the contributors to ShareLife, they are embodying the gospel message to love one another as I have loved you. And that's important because as a faith community, we are bringing the hands of Christ to those in need. And what makes our ShareLife supporters unique is they're not just contributing to charity, they're contributing to the values that they hold dear as Catholics and support the work of their faith community. Often we hear, when we ask people, why do they support ShareLife? They say it's Catholic and it's good. They trust the Catholic Church to be responsible with their contributions, and they know that it's going to support not only the work of the church, but to help the greater society. So there is a very good level of confidence within our parish communities that a contribution to ShareLife is more than just a financial contribution. It's how we bring the gospel values to life right across the Archdiocese and across the world.
Now, one of the new initiatives for ShareLife this past year was the food security grants. And I know, Arthur, just from hearing you talk about it, I know that it's something that's very important to you. Can you tell us a little bit about the genesis of that project?
Sure. So as many of us saw last year, the price of food went up significantly, and there were many people turning to food banks. In fact, more than ever, people were turning to a food bank or a meal program for help. This is unseen in our society. And today, my wife works for an agency that does have a food service program and a food bank, and they are seeing more people than ever coming forward to seek help. So while it was happening last year, it's continuing today. And it's still a challenge. We read about it in the paper all the time that more and more people are turning to food banks and meal programs for help. The advisory board of ShareLife saw this and wanted to help. We recognized that it was a very difficult and challenging time, and we wanted to do our part. We wanted to also support the work that was going on in the community to bring that basic necessity of life to our communities. So our advisory board met and determined that we would allocate $500,000 towards food and meal programs. That was $400,000 that we originally decided, and then through a generous donation made an additional $100,000, made it $500,000 that went towards food and meal programs. And that was on top of $120,000 that had already been distributed by Catholic Charities to food and meal programs within their agencies as well. Now, we recognized, and our board recognized, that we don't have the expertise to determine what the best use of these funds were. So we turned to our partner organizations, Catholic Charities, and also to the St. Vincent de Paul, and asked them to assist us with that. So we made applications open to parish food programs, and also to agency programs. And through that, and through the generosity of our supporters, 16 parish and meal programs are now providing meals, snacks. They're providing breakfast programs and are able to do so through the support that they've received from this extraordinary grant that we've made. In addition, 12 community organizations and actually one school as well are supporting families, seniors, individuals, young mothers, providing baby formula, providing cereal, and also helping out with gift cards to assist families. So the generosity of our parishioners and our parish communities has helped to make all of this possible. And some of this still going on today. There is a great need, and the agencies that we've been able to support through this very generous grant are now being able to serve those who really need the help to get this basic necessity of life.
Incredibly important work. Thank you, Arthur, for sharing about that. Now we'd like to turn to Sharon, Mayne, Devine. Sharon, I want to ask you the same question that I asked Agnes. Your counseling staff are interacting on a daily basis with individuals throughout the Peel region, often experiencing incredible hardship. How would you describe the state of mental health in our communities?
Oh, well, Agnes, said so much about the things that our families are up against, poverty. Housing issues. We all know how much groceries cost these days. So all of that takes a huge toll on individuals, couples, and families in our community. And I think part of the struggle is people are under so much stress. Their relationships become under stress as well. The communities are stressed. So that does erode a person's sense of themselves and their mental health. So being able to come to an agency and connect with our counselors or connecting, with their peers goes a long way to help people feel connected again. We need relationships with one another that are solid and secure. And when we're under the kinds of stress that people are under, and when they're hungry, it makes it very difficult to get a sense of support or that anybody in the world even cares about them. And all that takes a toll on people's mental health and their relationship health. We don't talk enough about that, I think, in our communities. If we want to improve the mental health of people, we need to improve their relationship health, their family health, and support them that way. And I think that's a huge contribution of Catholic Charities and ShareLife to our community is the focus on relationships and relationship health.
Now, Sharon, each one of you in our event today, you've been serving our communities for quite a long time, and just reading the biographies and seeing the many ways all three of you have been contributing to our communities is really quite amazing. And Sharon, you've been leading CFS Peel-Dufferin for the past 10 years. And am I correct that you began as a counselor back in 1987?
That's right. I've been most of my career has been with Catholic Family Services and working, and I had my start at L'Arche as well. Agnes and I have talked about that over the years. So I have that frontline experience, and I'm trained as an individual couple and family therapist. And I believe in the importance of healthy, strong relationships.
And so that's an incredible vantage point. And so I'm sure you're able to see trends emerging. How are the needs changing in Peel region from, say, the past 10 years and beyond?
I think the level of isolation, loneliness, the sense of hopelessness that people are coming, that sense of, does anybody care about me and my family? Do I matter? In a world that, gives a lot of messages that they don't matter. We serve the community in 14 different languages. We're a very diverse community. We have people from all over the world who find their way to Canada and find their way to Peel region in particular, but the Archdiocese of Toronto. And, you know, they're coming with a lot of hopes and dreams and sometimes find that they're dashed when they get here. And it's quite demoralizing for a lot of people. And I think that's the thing that we're noticing more of, is that sense of being alone in the world. The other part of it as well is people don't know how to navigate the systems. They don't know where to go to get the help and support that they need. So we've just launched actually a new program called the Connect Clinic. And it's so that anyone can come to our agency. And this would be the same right across the Archdiocese with all the family service agencies. If someone doesn't know where to go, they don't know what to do, they don't know where to turn, they can come to a family service agency and we will connect them to the services that they might need in the community. If we can't meet their needs or support them, we'll make sure that they get connected to an organization that can meet their needs. So, you know, when I see people, you know, walking into the agency, you know, their shoulders are slumped, they're stressed, you can see the frustration, anxiety, fear in their bodies. And when people leave, they leave with a smile on their face and they walk taller leaving because they don't feel alone anymore. They feel connected. They feel like they matter and they leave with a tremendous sense of hope that they can do it. You know, we all have those moments, right? Where we think, can I go another day? Can I keep going? And you know, when we have those moments, it's when somebody reaches out to us, or if we go to someone and they're kind and they care about us, that's when we find that strength back, that reconnecting with our own strength and our own resilience. You know, so I think that people are alone, feeling alone, and when they come to a Catholic agency, they know that they're not alone. And they've got a place that cares about them. And it's a Catholic organization that has helped them. And we help people regardless of what their faith is. So we're giving witness to the world. And it's a counterpoint, I think, to the hopelessness and despair that so many people are seeing in the news or, you know, watching happening in the world. It's like we truly are a light during dark, dark times. And I will say, you know, I started frontline work, you know, in 1987, long, long time ago when I was a baby social worker. And I have to say things are worse today than they were when I started my career all those years ago. And I think that Catholic Charities Share Life is more critical than ever during these very difficult, dark times in our world where we need hope and we need to feel God's presence in our life. You know, when I was doing frontline work and I recently, you know, we had our Ash Wednesday service, you know, at the agency last week. And I said to the staff, you know, you're doing hard work. And I wanted all my staff to know that every time someone came to see them for an appointment, that they were the face of God to that person in that moment, you know, and you know, we're, you know, in the Lenten season and we'll be heading into, you know, the Paschal mystery in the coming weeks, you know, and Jesus, you know, said to Peter at one point in the garden, he says to Peter, could you not stay awake with me for 1 hour? And our counselors, what they do is they stay awake. They stay awake and present for that 1 hour with that client who's come with whatever woes, wherever their heartache is, wherever their most painful points are. Our counselors are sitting there giving witness to that person. And when they witness that person, they're witnessing Jesus. So I think I just want the whole Share Life community to know that they are bearing witness to the pain of people through the counselors and the staff, you know, of all of our agencies. You know, I think the other thing I just really want everyone to know too is that we are there for the entire community. We're there for you. We're there for the people who give the dollars. We're there for you too. So people give, and they can also come and receive, and when I speak at parishes, I'll often get parishioners coming up to me and they'll say, I had such a great experience at your agency. I came and I saw counselor so-and-so, and she was great. And she listened to me, and my life is better, and she saved my life. And so that's people who are giving are also receiving. And I think that we're one, Agnes said it, no one's better than anyone else. We're one family, we're one human family, and we're here for one another. People give and they receive, and that is the way I think God intended us to be in relationship with one another.
I think that's really important what you're saying, that it's not just some unknown other who is receiving the services of Catholic Charities agencies. It's your fellow parishioners,
Yes.
It's your neighbors, it's
Yes.
maybe you. It's this is something that's really, really close to home.
Yes.
I had the chance, the privilege really, to visit the Safe Center of Peele, which is, as I mentioned, one of the organizations that's led by CFS Peel-Dufferin. And I was really blown away by the work that was done there. We did some filming there that our listeners will be able to see in an upcoming ShareLife video. So they'll actually get to see the Safe Center of Peel. Tell us more about that and how it emerged and what need it's meeting.
Oh, so about 12 or 13 years ago now, one of the things that we realized as an agency that's providing services to women who are experiencing violence in their relationships. And what we were noticing is that a woman would have to go to 7 or 8 different organizations to get the help that they needed. And that what that meant was women often felt discouraged and would give up. And then they would stay, with in their abusive relationship, or things would just get worse and they would feel hopeless. So we led an initiative with our community partners to say, what if women could come to one place and access all the services that she needed in order for her to become safe and so that her children would be safe? What if she could come to this one place and only need to remember one person's name, the navigator, who could then connect them with all the services that they needed? And so under the leadership of our organization and with the support of ShareLife, we did it. We created a center that now we are up to 20 community partners that have all come together to wrap the services around, people in their darkest, most challenging moments in their lives. So we have 9 on-site partners that all live together in the organization providing those services. And then we have other partners who aren't on site but are other locations. And we all partners refer clients. We can refer to them, and they're warm referrals. It's not, here's a number, go. It's, come here. We've got child minding. Your children can play. If the service provider isn't on site, the wonders of Zoom, they can access services all over the place that they need to heal from the abuse, to deal with the crisis that they're in, and to find their pathways to safety.
I think it's an incredible work that's being done at the Safe Center. We're really looking forward to being able to share that with the rest of our viewers and actually show a story of a real life individual who was helped through the Safe Center of Peel. I want to open up the discussion now to all of our listeners. As I mentioned, the Q&A box on Zoom, you're welcome to put your questions in there. The chat box has been disabled just so we can filter all of our questions into the Q&A. Only ourselves and you will be able to see the question that you submit there. It can be about anything that's been featured here during this discussion today. So we welcome your your comments. I want to go back to this question of hope, because I think for a lot of us who support ShareLife, there can be the temptation towards despair, and from despair there comes apathy, because if the problems are getting worse, if I'm seeing that the issues in my neighborhood are getting worse, why continue supporting this work? And probably for each of you yourselves, you're experiencing this, you're seeing this. And so what is inspiring your own hope so that you get up in the morning and you are driven to continue supporting this work? What is sustaining your hope?
I could start us off. Our clients, they're so courageous. They come and open their hearts to us, talk about the challenges that they're experiencing. And, despite those challenges, they overcome them. I think of, of one woman in particular, who was in a relationship where she was being abused, and it was very, very serious abuse. And, her courage to take the steps that she needed, her courage to go back to work, find a job, get housing, look after her children, her care and concern for them. So our clients really provide us with the inspiration to keep going. I know that we make a difference in people's lives. So despite all of the challenges that are out there right now, the human spirit is tremendous. And that's what has kept me, as a social worker for these 35 years, is seeing over and over again how we can give a little care, and what people can do with that is inspiring.
Agnes, Arthur, would you be able to add to, what is keeping you hopeful? Oh, Arthur, I think your microphone's muted.
There we go. I often have said, Chris, if you wonder why we have a ShareLife campaign, all you have to do is visit an agency. And I have had the chance in my time here to visit almost every agency that's funded by ShareLife. And when you walk away from that visit, you have a full understanding of why we have a ShareLife campaign. There's so many examples. Sharon just shared some. Agnes can share some from her experience as well. I'll just share one that this goes back many years. I visited one of the homes of Mary Center. And I remember going in, and there was a lady there, and her name was Henny, if I remember correctly. And Henny gave me a tour of the house. Now, for those who don't know, Mary Center is a home that provides care and support for developmentally challenged adults, allowing them to live with dignity and with the supports. So Henny took me in, and she gave me a tour of the house and showed me the house. And when we went to her room, on the door was a list of her chores, the things that she was responsible for to do in the house. And it was simple things to some of us, simple things like sweep the floor or wash the dishes or help to put away the towels or things like that. And I thought to myself, those tasks to her are just as important to her as the tasks that we face in our daily lives here at work. And it brought a real impact to me, because you think to yourself, does it matter that I put away the dishes? Well, to her, that was a big thing. And for us, we have our challenges of trying to raise money, trying to make sure that the campaign goes on, trying to make sure that we have the funds to support the agencies. For her, it was a much more simpler task, but something that was equally important to her, and I've never forgotten that.
Is there anything you'd like to add to that, Agnes? Perhaps from your longstanding service with Catholic Cross Cultural Services, and seeing the needs there, and how your hope was sustained with I understand, a lot of growth in Catholic Cross Cultural Services during your time there, because the needs kept growing.
Well, Arthur and Sharon kind of mentioned, the word that I use is that we get to witness the transformational change that takes place in people, and also how you get to be part of that process because you are also being changed. So for me, I think what keeps me in this job and probably forever, as long as I am working or even after, is that people are transformed and we are transformed in the same time. Like, the way that, Arthur just mentioned about the woman he met at Mary Center. So there is something that it's almost like a mirror reflection to us. So there is this one little story I'll tell of somebody who walked through our door as a refugee. And at the end, as she was walking out, she said, I'm grateful because I'm expecting this person coming through, I think, 13 different countries or borders as a refugee, finally arriving in Toronto and having lost half of her family. She says, I'm here and that matters. And I'm grateful I'm here because there are organizations or there are people who are supporting. There is my sponsor who brought me all the way. The rest will be okay. And so someone to say that after gone through so much, what does that say about our sense of gratitude, our sense of being part of this big wide world? And so for me, I think people like that every day creates a sense of purpose. You are not just throwing stones in the river. Those are life-changing events for somebody. And it is a life-changing event for you. And what an incredible privilege that is.
Mhm.
Thank you. Another question that we often get here at ShareLife is, what is the relationship between ShareLife, Catholic Charities, and our member agencies? Would you be able to map that out? I don't know if you want to start with that.
Maybe I will start that because I
Okay, please do,
like
Agnes,
to
please
say
do.
that. The other day I was at one of the presentation and I said, thanks to all the people who were there from the different parishes. I said, thanks to all of your contributions and the work for Share Life campaign because you collect the money and Share Life bring it to the spaces and we spend it. And then how we spend it is where the relationship with the agencies comes. And so there is a process in place in which organizations are able to show the impact they are making in the community. I think that is the piece. It is almost like a three-dimensional piece where Share Life is going and speaking with parishes, parishioners, individuals. Then we get to share that money with the would you not say that, Sharon?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Arthur raises it. Agnes, hands it around and I spend it. And then what we give back are those stories and all the evaluations of all the work that we do, because that's the other part I think it's important, is really important to me and my fellow executive directors, is that we be good stewards of those funds, and we are good stewards of the funds, and we can demonstrate the impact that those funds have on the lives of those we serve. Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's amazing. Sometimes I say at the agency, and I say to other organizations, it's like loaves and fishes sometimes. It's amazing how far though that money can go. And I think especially when we connect and collaborate across our organizations and with other organizations as well. So it goes a long way and has a big impact.
and it also shows collective impact, right? It's almost like the individual in the parish contributing this money, and then it goes back to the community,
Yes.
to another individual. So, like in social work, there is a language that is used as the continuum of care. So it is really that chain, the continuum of care that is processed in such a way. I think that's such a great model. Again, going back to how we witness it.
I think one of the really beautiful things about this model is that we actually do see the results. And that's one of the reasons why I really want everybody who is watching to read the impact report when we send it along, because it's there are some statistics in there are some facts and figures, but there's so many inspiring stories. It's an inspiring report. about the impact that's being made by the individuals who are supporting ShareLife, the impact made by you, and it's tangible. We know the number of individuals that are being supported through ShareLife funded agencies. We're hearing their stories. We're being able to see all of this, and it would make me a little bit sad if someone is, as much as I'm happy that they're supporting ShareLife, if they're not able to see the impact of what they're doing, and we're able to show them that impact. So I really hope that every individual listening is going to look at that report once we release it in the coming days.
And Chris, can I just say that the difference in the impact is across generations and into the future? We have a fathers group, and so we have fathers who come, brave men who come to learn about parenting, learn how to be responsive to their children. And in this one situation, a gentleman came. He has 2 of his own children, and he was now adopting his cousin's 2 children. So, and he came to the fathering group because he wanted to make sure he did it well. He wanted to make sure that it was his kids were still going to be well cared for and feel important, but he wanted these 2 other children to feel welcomed into this family. And, when I think about those 4 kids, this man taking that step, getting that help, getting that support, getting, the skills, he's a better dad. That's life-changing for those 4 children. So imagine that by the thousands of people, when they read the impact report, look at those numbers and multiply them. Because every time somebody's mental health improves, their relationships are strengthened, it's 7 generations forward. That's how big the impact is. And how do you quantify that?
And there are a number of organizations that are specifically helping out young parents. Agnes, would you be able to speak to some of those other organizations out there and how they're helping these next generations and what that will look like?
I could think about the Catholic Community Services. Sorry, not Catholic Communities, Catholic Children's Aid and Rosalie Hall right now having a partnership event. And it started as a pilot where the community refer people to Rosalie Hall or vice versa. And there are social workers and their workers coming together, working towards it. And they are actually not just addressing the child who's in that situation. They are also meeting the family members or guardian, whoever is part of that child's life. And so when you are investing in a child or a youth who is in crisis, you are not just investing to that child. You are investing to the community, the school, all of those places that child has an impact or influence, and also the individuals who are around them, because sometimes same thing with seniors. I see the programs that are connecting or volunteering the youth and the seniors being connected. There is an intergenerational relationship being built. People are drawing values from one another or energies being from one another. And so there are many, many examples of organization comes up with amazing, innovative ideas time and again. I think that is why maybe sometimes the different times needing or requiring different set of solutions. And I do find it is quite marvelous to see how people come up with solution-focused ideas to address those. So people sometimes ask, how do you measure impact, right? And so at least from my previous work, or even just with the Catholic Charities in the little I know in the allocation process, how much we go through, like, how did you measure this? So what is your way of going back to the community and find out if it was a long-term impact or if it was just a one-time thing? So there are many of the organizations have mechanisms already in place to evaluate their programs. They also check in with their staff teams to find out how session is going. Sometimes there are anonymous surveys being conducted, multiple ways. Sometimes we get volunteers, at least in my previous 2 organizations, we would have young people or adults who received services would come back and say, it is our time to give back. Can we volunteer? So I think there are ways we know then it made a difference to somebody. Or sometimes random letters or emails we would receive. I came to your organization 15 years ago and this person helped me, and they would name the person. And this is what happened. Now I'm working and my family is here. And, I just wanted to reach out and say, you made a difference. So I tell the people that I used to work, there are days of despair, but then don't forget, it's not that you plant a seed and you expect to see it becomes a tree the next day. Some work, it takes years to see what that transformation was. Because I think that is what is another thing earlier you asked about the hope, or what gives you hope, or what keeps you going, is that sometimes you meet somebody 20 years later on a bus stop, or like you are somewhere and say like, do you remember me? And we don't, but then they say like, this happened that day, you did this, or you said that was a thread to a lifeline for me. So that is how that's the individual level, but in the collective organizational level, there are plenty mechanisms to measure impact.
Yeah.
Won't you agree that that's how I see it? Because that's so
Absolutely.
big for me, actually seeing it.
All of our counselors, are university educated, trained members of professional colleges, and all of our programs have evaluation measures. Different programs use different measures based on what the program is, and we can demonstrate those outcomes. And that's something else that actually Catholic Charities and ShareLife has really supported, is the development and the capacity of our organizations to do those evaluations to show the impact.
And one of the unique gifts, I know we are taking time here.
No, this is actually great, because a question that had just come in before that was exactly this. How are you actually able to make an impact? Like, know that you're making an impact. How do you determine it? How do you measure it? How do you know what you're doing is working? So no, please continue. This is really important.
So one of the unique gift of Catholic Charities, or like a ShareLife type of arrangement, or Catholic community services, or similar type of organizations, I see, is that we are able to, I always told the staff that in my previous work as well, we are able to stretch that dollars and also apply in a place where there is a severe gap. Meaning sometimes we don't have to be bound by numbers. So one of the dangerous place where community services or any type of care related work is going is that there is so much emphasis on the number of people being served, or how many, but people's lives are not always the way that we would want it to measure it. And so I think with our dollars, what I find is we are able to go and say that this person need not just 5 times of visiting the counselor. This person may need 12 times, and we don't. So I think having that type of flexibility also allows someone to actually go through a process in the full scope so they can be healed. I find that is actually a critical piece of the work Catholic Charities and ShareLife's money does for the community.
We have time for one more question. I'm going to direct it to you, Arthur. This participant says, without any question, you are doing great work, but there are so many charities out there that need supporting. What makes ShareLife worthwhile?
I think I said in the beginning that it brings your Catholic values to action. And as a Catholic community, we want to be helping, we want to be there for our brothers and sisters in Christ. And where ShareLife comes in is we are raising funds on behalf of all of the agencies that you heard from and heard us talk about tonight. Agencies that are not only helping in social services within the Archdiocese, but also agencies that are bringing food to people across the world, that are helping in social justice issues, to educate our seminarians, to carry out the work of the church in the greater world. There's so many other agencies, not only just the social service agencies, but other agencies there as well, that are bringing our faith values forward. So what makes ShareLife worthwhile is that we're bringing your Catholic values into action. But not only that, when you contribute to ShareLife, you're not being, if you want, and let me say, you're not being asked for funds by 42 different agencies. We're representing those agencies, and we're taking the funds in, and then, as Sharon mentioned, allocating them to the different agencies, including Catholic Charities, who then provide the oversight for the social service agencies. So from being responsible for dollars and ensuring that the most goes to the agencies, we reduce the administration of receiving multiple mailings and multiple requests from many people. So not only is it effective from responsibility of donor dollars, but it's also important to donate to ShareLife, as I say, to bring your faith into action.
Very quickly, just one question came in, which I think is important. If someone wants to donate to ShareLife, can they choose what branch of an agency the money is going towards? Why or why not? I know
Well,
that we've got that question before.
Yep, that's something we traditionally don't do. And the reason for that, and we've had many discussions about this over the years, ShareLife, as I said, provides funding to over 40 agencies. Some receive over $1 million, some receive $20,000. Our responsibility is to ensure that all of these agencies receive funding. And if we were to turn it into you can designate which agency, our worry, and the worry has often been expressed, is that some of the larger agencies will be naturally selected, but some of the smaller ones and maybe less known ones that are doing equally important work won't be considered because they don't have the same profile as some of the other agencies. So it's not something we normally do. If somebody wants to pursue that question further with me, they can send me an email and I'd be happy to discuss it with them directly.
Now to close, I would like to give you each an opportunity to say something to our donors, to have the floor, both to our individuals who are watching on Zoom, those who are watching via YouTube right now, those who are going to be listening to the event after the fact. And we did get a question: are you going to be making this available afterwards? Yes, we're going to send this video to everybody who registered, and we're going to be putting it on our social media channels. So to those who have been faithfully supporting ShareLife, what would you like to say to them?
Thank you for being a partner in this incredible work and being a sign of hope. I think by contributing, by being part of this journey with the organizations, you all are being a sign of hope to someone who is in need. So incredible gratitude.
I too would like to say a huge thank you. Earlier, I was talking about people's need to feel connected. And so for the staff of all of our agencies who do the work, they know that there's a whole community out there who support them and who care about them. So on behalf of not just our clients, but on behalf of the staff, you really are the heart of the work that we do. We are just your hands. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
And I'd like to echo Sharon and Agnes's comments also to say very much thank you to our donors. You have entrusted us with your funds, not only ShareLife, but Catholic Charities, the agencies. You've entrusted us with your funds, and our goal is to ensure that as much of that as possible goes to those who need the help. The fact that you are supporting us is not something we take for granted. We work every day, all of our agencies work every day to respect that trust that you put in us, and we will continue to do so. And maybe, Chris, if I could just put a little plug in, we're about to start the 2024 campaign with us now being in Lent and ShareLife Sunday coming up on March 17th, St. Patrick's Day this year. So as we've done in the past few years, and we will do again, we will increase the allocations. The agencies need the funds. You've heard from Sharon and from Agnes tonight that there is a great need out there, and we respond to the requests from the agencies and want to give them as much as possible. So we ask our parishioners to once again respond generously to the ShareLife campaign, to do the best that they can to support the work of the agencies, but to know at the end of the day that when they make that contribution, it is a sacred trust that we do not take lightly, and we will ensure that their dollars are used to benefit those who need our help the most.
Thank you, Arthur. I'm going to give the last word to someone who wrote this comment in, and I think it's so beautiful. They wrote, "Donating through ShareLife has given me a great opportunity to live out my gospel values, helping my brothers and sisters in need. Thank you, ShareLife, Catholic Charities, and Catholic Family Services for being such good stewards and for all that you do." And to that individual, I say thank you, because without you, ShareLife, Catholic Charities, Catholic Family Services would not be able to do what they do. So we're really grateful for all our supporters. Once again, our impact report, that's going to be coming out next week. We really hope that you will read it. I want to thank Jen Lazo from the ShareLife team, who is overseeing this event tonight, for all that she's done to put this together. And I want to thank you, Arthur, Agnes, Sharon, for taking time tonight.
Thank you for
My
having me.
pleasure. Yeah,
Thank
my
I'd like-
pleasure.
Goodness, Chris.
I'd like to close with a prayer. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Good night, everyone.